God forbid you are sitting in this place saying, I don't care about legacy. You need to care about it because somebody's got to live in the life you have. You are passing something down whether you want to or not.
Hey, what's going on, you guys? Welcome to the Mindset Mastery Podcast. I'm your host, Coach Sam Velasquez, and I'm super thrilled you're here today. As always, if you are tuning in for the first time, just know here on this podcast, we are all about building and restoring a firm foundation within our faith, our marriage, our family, and our businesses. And really, the goal is that we continue to want to build and have mindset mastery. And the only way to master something is through repetition, right? Repetition builds mastery. And I'm thrilled today because I think this is a critical podcast for all of us, regardless of where we're at in life, whether we're entrepreneurs, business owners, we're working a specific career. It really doesn't matter. Although I really am keying in on this because I am wanting to talk to our mindset in regards to maybe being an entrepreneur, or also talk to our mindset in regards to maybe past visions or ideas or things that we were imagining and hoping for that we let maybe go dormant, and those things are starting to resurface in your life, and you're like, man, I really want to go for X or Y, whatever that is in your life. And I'm here to encourage you and to say, go for it. And because we're going to be talking about the three key ingredients to success as an entrepreneur or a business owner, or really in life. These key ingredients are applicable for every area of our life. And it's so important. You know, I remember a time where, let me give you the ingredients. The ingredients are imagination, faith, and action. You know, and I can remember a time, even before starting this podcast, starting to imagine having a podcast. And my imagination grew, and I began to then start to believe, you know what, I could do this. And eventually, my imagination, then through faith, I took action. And here we are. And that's just one small example. I like what Martin Luther King Jr. says too. He says, faith is taking the first step, even when you don't see the whole staircase. Again, Martin Luther King Jr. said that. Faith is taking the first step, even when you don't see the whole staircase. You know, and it may sound cliche. We hear this so often in life, but it's true, nor does it change the truth because it's rooted in principle. And often in life, we have to make challenging or maybe difficult decisions to do something when we cannot fully see it. And so let's jump into that first key ingredient, because I really want this to be practical and something that you can begin to apply to your life right now. Okay? Because when it comes to the first ingredient, which is imagination, right? Imagination, right? That is how we fuel our vision. Or imagination allows us to, problem solve. Or we, through imagination, can begin to innovate things, especially if you're an entrepreneurial-minded person or a creator or someone who likes to build, right? It's through imagination that we begin to create and or do new things, right? I love what this principle says in the scripture. In Ephesians 3:20, it says, now to him who is able to do immeasurably more than all we ask or imagine, according to his power that is at work within us. Right? God can do more than what we can imagine. But the fact of the matter is he's doing more than what we can imagine tells us that we are imagining. We have been given an imagination. It is so important that we imagine what is possible. And Walt Disney said this, if you can dream it or imagine it, you can do it. And imagination is like mind's eye. Think that. What is in your mind's eye that you are imagining or hoping for that you can see, but there's no real picture. It's just you're imagining it in your mind's eye. Albert Einstein said this. He said, imagination is more important than knowledge. Now, maybe that's arguable, but to his point, if I'm understanding the emphasis, is that I can have all of the knowledge, but if I can't imagine what is possible with that knowledge, it's maybe no good. Now, I'll leave that up to you to decipher on your own. But it does cause for pause. It does cause for us to think about, what is it that I have all this knowledge for? Well, imagine what you could do with it. Imagine what is possible, right? We need to imagine that the ideas we have, not only have they been given to us, but if you're like me, a person of faith, man, what I'm imagining is minimal compared to what God will do with it, which kind of leads us to our next ingredient. But think about this. What would you create if anything were possible? Imagine that. If you could create anything, what would it be if you knew you wouldn't fail? If you knew that 100% of whatever it is you imagined you were going to create, it was going to come to pass? I don't know what that is for you, but my challenge and encouragement, better yet, is don't discard the things you're imagining. Take time to ask, why am I imagining this? And then step into the second ingredient. What is the second ingredient? Well, like we said earlier, it's faith. Faith helps us, okay, to trust in ourselves. It helps us to trust the process. It helps us to trust and have faith that what I'm imagining is for a greater purpose than what I'm just imagining. In the Bible, it says faith is confidence in what we hope for and assurance about what we do not see. Other versions say faith is the evidence of things hoped for and assurance for the things that we cannot see. Because even in our mind's eye, I'm only seeing a picture through my imagination, but I'm physically not seeing it. I'm imagining what's possible, but it has yet to happen. And so we have to then exercise faith. I have to believe that what it is I'm imagining is going to come to pass. Faith is what builds on imagination. Because I can have faith for something, but if I can't imagine what I'm having faith for, it kind of defeats the purpose. It's almost like just saying, I'm believing. And someone says, well, what are you believing for? I don't know. I'm just believing. Okay, that's good. It's good to have faith, right? We want to have a strong belief system, but what is it that I'm believing? And if I can't define, even through my own imagination, what it is I'm believing, it kind of defeats the purpose of believing. It's like, well, I'm believing in nothing then. And so imagination is critical to then take faith after the fact to take what you're imagining and start to have it take form and shape and begin to trust the process, because often what we imagine is bigger than what we know we could ever do on our own, which is why it reminds us of the principle that for God, He's able to do immeasurably more, is what it says, than what we could ever imagine. And so, not to worry. And so, therefore, I can have faith in what it is I'm imagining, because God could take it beyond where we could ever think and or ask even. You know, when it comes to faith, Napoleon Hill said this: faith is the head chemist of the mind. I love that quote, actually. Faith is the head chemist of the mind. And listen, I am no chemist, nor am I someone who should be speaking about chemistry. However, think about that for a minute. If I was dealing with chemicals, I would really want someone who knew what they were doing. And so I love the metaphorical picture Napoleon Hill's painting for us, is that faith is the head chemist of the mind, right? So in our mind, in our mind's eye, in our imagination, at the head of that, we need faith. Helen Keller said, optimism is the faith that leads to achievement. Nothing can be done without hope and confidence. And that speaks to just the principle of the truth of God's word, which is now faith is confidence in what we hope for and assurance about what we do not or what we cannot see. That's Hebrews 11:1. Faith is simply what causes then our imagination to become reality, because now we're not only imagining it, we're beginning to believe it, even though we're yet to see the whole picture. It allows us to trust the process. Okay. And with that, we come into that third ingredient. And this is I would say, not only the third ingredient, it is the key ingredient. It is the highest, most important, right? As Napoleon Hill said, faith is the head chemist of the mind. I would say that action is the head chemist of your imagination and faith. And here's why. Because the principle in the word tells us faith without works is dead. That's James 2:26. James 2:26. Faith without works is dead. That's just saying that I can have the biggest imagination in the world, and I can have a God who could do immeasurably more than what I could imagine or even ask for. And I could have all of the faith for what it is I'm imagining. But if I cannot add the ingredient of faith, or I'm sorry, if I only have faith in an imagination, but do not have action, which is, we can replace that word, works, right? Faith without action is dead. I have to, you have to, we have to be willing to take action. Because I can have faith that the steps are there, as Martin Luther King Jr. said, but I still have to take the step and trust that they're there. So I'm imagining the steps are there. I'm having faith that the steps are there. Therefore, I'm going to take action and step with confidence and with a hope and knowing that the step is there. When it comes to action, here's what Tony Robbins said. He said, the path to success is to take massive, determined action. So while I'm imagining things, having faith for it, I need to take massive, determined action. I need to be determined enough that I start moving in the direction of the things I'm imagining, having faith for, and believing are going to come to pass. Amelia Earhart said this, the most difficult thing is the decision to act. The rest is merely tenacity. That's so good. The most difficult thing is the decision to act. The rest is merely tenacity. Meaning, once we take action, once we go from imagination to faith that propels us into action, the rest is just tenaciousness, right? We need to be encouraged to move with action. We need to be encouraged that whatever it is you are imagining, whatever it is you are having faith and hope in, can only come to pass if we take action. Otherwise, it's just a dead vision, is what it's saying. It is just a meaningless imagination and faith for something that will never happen unless we take action. And we've got to rid ourselves of that almost wishful thinking. Because, right, if we take these three key ingredients and we think about that in reference to our own faith, in reference to our marriages, in reference to your family or your business or your career, whatever it is you're doing, right? And especially if I'm an entrepreneur or entrepreneurial minded or a creator or somebody who wants to build and innovate, my imagination without faith is just that. And I'm just imagining. And my imagination with faith, but without action, is just that, imagination and faith, but a lack or an unwillingness to step out and take action on what it is we're imagining and hoping for. You know, the idea is that in everything we do, it says that if we commit our work to God, then our plans will be established, right? I desperately want us to understand that all of us have an imagination. We are all imagining a better and more preferred future. And it may not be constant, but somewhere along the line, we imagine what something could be. And in that, if we continue to imagine it and we take notice of it, we don't just discard it, we then begin to implement that faith step, that faith ingredient. We begin to believe what it is we are seeing in our mind's eye, and we're trusting that God can do immeasurably more than what we asked or imagined, meaning He's telling us, have faith that what you're imagining, I will bring to pass. And He's telling us the key ingredient in order for that to happen is I need you to take action. I need you to step out and trust the process. But if you don't, then you just have an imagination and a faith that is absent of action, which is dead. And nobody wants to have imagination and a vision and a faith for something that is just going to die because we didn't have a willingness to take action. So let's land this plane. You guys, take these three ingredients and see in how you can apply them to your life on a daily basis. Because it may be that you're imagining something for your career. It could be that you're imagining something for your family. It could be you're imagining something for your marriage. It could be you're imagining something for a business idea. Good. Imagine that. Now, have the faith that it can happen. And with that faith, bring in the ingredient of action and just move in that direction and trust God in the process, right? And that really is an ingredient of its own. It's taking the three: imagination, faith, and action. Take those three ingredients and then give them in the process to God and commit that work to Him. And in doing so, He will establish the plans that He has for you in your faith that is also rooted in action because of what you were imagining He wants to bring to pass in your life. You guys, I hope this is encouraging to you. As always, in the show note links below, check them out. Hey, sign up for the free weekly email. And if you are like, you know what, I am ready to take massive action. I am ready to not just imagine, not just have faith, but actually take action in my life. Sign up for that free 30-minute coaching call. I would love to encourage you and help you along taking that first step and action towards what it is you're imagining and believing for. You guys, I appreciate you. Coach Sam Velasquez with the Mindset Mastery Podcast. We will see you on the other side. Peace.
God forbid you are sitting in this place saying, I don't care about legacy. You need to care about it because somebody's got to live in the life you have. You are passing something down whether you want to or not.